what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Boyos Discuss, the podcast where we pick a topic and then shoot the shit about it for a while. Today we've got something special for y'all, brought to you by the number one power distributors in Texas, ERCOT. The Boyos have been snowed in this week, so we were doing some midweek madness, well, more like end of the week madness now, with a Shark Tale review, a topic of much contention in the group. I'm Ross, and I'm joined by my co-host, Matthew.
Hey, what's up?
All right, so to get into it, Matthew's going to give us a quick synopsis of the movie.
Yeah. So we got Oscar. He's a fish who works in a car wash, but he dreams of having more. He owes his boss, Sykes, a bunch of money the next day. Angie, who's his, love interest at the car wash, offers her grandma's pearl to Oscar so he can pawn it and pay off his debt. And Oscar, being the upstanding person that he is, doesn't have any issues with that, so he just fucking takes it. So he gets the money at the pawn shop, but instead of paying Sykes immediately, he meets him at a horse race, a seahorse race, and he overhears these people talking about the race being rigged. And so he's like, oh shit, well I can fucking double my money or whatever and pay Sykes back and, get some money in return. Lola, who's there's like a gold digger fish lady, she's played by Angelina Jolie, they weird.
Literally played the song Gold Digger or something.
Yeah, and it's a weird thing because, this is a children's movie, but they try to, give the fish sex appeal, and it makes me a little uncomfortable. But yeah, so she shows up, and she's like, oh shit, this Oscar guy, he's probably going to make some money, I'm going to hang out with him. So Oscar bets all his money on Lucky Day. Lucky Day ends up tripping underwater. And they make a big joke about that. They're like, how in the halibut do you trip underwater? That doesn't make any sense. But yeah, Lucky Day loses at the last second. Everyone's real pissed. Basically, then we transfer over to, I guess the B plot of the story, which is, the weird shark mafia thing that exists.
Yeah.
And so you have the Don, who's played by who's the actor who plays him?
De Niro.
Robert De Niro. Yeah. Which excellent choice. I just don't know that it was necessary for this movie in particular, but
speaking of the mafia, did you know that the Italian communities, at least Italian American communities, really did not like this movie?
Oh, I bet. Yeah, it's
so, but it's they're portrayed like that all over the place. And then this one kid's movie, they're like, fuck Shark Tale, man.
Yeah, I don't.
Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah. I don't disagree. We'll get into the issues with, I guess, the portrayal of stuff like that later, but so they have a whole thing where the Don's son, Lenny, is a vegetarian, so he gets his eldest son, Frankie, to try and help him eat meat. And that's when we kind of have the two storylines converge, and you have Lenny and Frankie come across Oscar, who's been basically left for dead in the middle of the ocean because he couldn't pay Sykes back because he wasted all his money betting on a stupid horse, but... you have the two little, I guess, jellyfish henchman dude who had left him out there. So what ends up happening is Oscar, he's alive. He's not really dead, but he's just been left out there. So Frankie's like, okay, Lenny, just fucking eat Oscar. It's like he's sitting there. He's dead already. Just do it. But Lenny tries to, get him to come to, I guess, and he's like, hey, I'm just going to let you go, go. But that pisses Frankie off, and so then Frankie starts to chase Oscar, but he gets hit by an anchor out of nowhere. So the only ones who saw
dies.
Yeah, he dies. It's just real bad, but no one sees what happened except for Lenny and Oscar. So they're the only ones who know the truth, and so people start to show up, and they think that Oscar's the one who killed the shark, so he becomes famous pretty much overnight after that, and so now he's called the Shark Slayer by everyone, and they're like, oh shit, he's such a cool guy, we're gonna give him money for some reason. So Sykes, who was his boss at the car wash, is now his manager, and Oscar finally gets to live at the top of the reef, and he gets the fame and the fortune that he wanted so badly. After that, Oscar's neighbors, they get a little freaked out because they see a shark poking around the area. And so Oscar, he he figures everyone's going to figure out his lie. And so he's like, I guess I got to go, though, because if I don't, they're going to fucking think I'm a punk. So he goes out there, and it turns out that it's Lenny. And Lenny really doesn't want to go back to his dad because his dad either is going to think that he was responsible for Frankie dying or he didn't do enough to save his brother. And he just doesn't want to live with the shame of being a vegetarian to his dad. So Lenny ends up going to live with Oscar in like this little garage basement thing that he has. And they're talking about stuff. And Angie, who is the love interest from earlier, shows up. And she finds out the truth, and she's going to tell everyone, but Oscar is able to convince her not to. This is also the scene where they, I don't know if you remember, Ross, the trailer for this movie. They had the one line from this scene where it's like, everyone thinks you slayed the shark.
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah, they showed that fucking trailer constantly on like Nickelodeon.
You did a great job at it, though.
Thank you. So, in order to prevent the truth from coming out, Oscar and Lenny decide they're going to stage a fight through underwater New York City, basically. So, Oscar kills Lenny, in quotes, and becomes even more popular. Lola and him, Lola's the gold digger fish, start dating, and the Don is even more angry because he's like, what the fuck is this little fish doing? He's messing with our big crime syndicate that I guess we have over New York City. But after that, Oscar discovers that Angie has been kidnapped. Actually, I missed a scene. So Angie and Oscar, they start to get into a fight because she's like, you just need to tell the truth. It's not really worth, I guess, the risks that you're doing. So she admits that she did have feelings for him before he was famous. Oscar gets really distraught about it, so he dumps the gold digger fish. And Lola is fucking pissed at him, and she beats the shit out of him. Like,
dude, yeah, she does.
It comes out of nowhere, and it's kind of scary. Like,
she must be that kind of secret shredded,
Yeah, it was really weird.
Yeah, and then they make the joke to write it off like, oh, young love. What?
Yeah,
what?
It's like, no.
that's domestic
abusive,
violence.
Yeah. It was the 2000s. People didn't care yet. But so that happens, and then they find out that Oscar finds out that Angie has been kidnapped in order to force Oscar to basically meet up with the mafia. And Oscar decides he's going to bring Lenny and disguise him as a dolphin, which I don't really understand why that's
well, he already was disguised as a dolphin.
Yeah, I guess that's true, but like,
yeah.
he doesn't look that different.
No,
so I
he
just
doesn't,
don't really
but
understand.
It works, I guess.
Yeah,
maybe.
But his dad, like, completely just
dad.
doesn't recognize him at all, which is like, okay, I guess, it's a movie, you gotta do stuff like that. But he basically, Oscar, in order to, I guess, take advantage of the situation, or not take advantage, but kind of turn the tables on the situation, gets Lenny to take Angie in his mouth and kind of rescue her. And it freaks out all the other sharks because they're like, oh shit, we didn't want her to die, like, what's a dolphin doing?
Yeah, they thought they were trying to hold her as a hostage
Yeah.
against him, and then he's like, man, I don't even give a shit about her.
Yeah.
And then he's like, go eat her. And so Lenny goes and eats her, and they're like, oh my god, he's a psychopath. And everyone's scared of him again.
Yeah. But Lenny, he can't keep her in his mouth because it makes him nauseous, so throws her up, and it's revealed, like, for some reason the paint falls off of Lenny at that point, and so it's like, oh, it was him all along. It's like, yeah, no shit. But
he looked basically the same for
Yeah.
those who have not seen the movie.
Yeah.
Except blue a little bit.
Yeah, he's a little more blue when he's a dolphin. But the Don is furious with Oscar, so he chases him through the reef, and it's mildly exciting, I guess. He ends up going to the car wash, and he gets caught in the little car wash thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the crowd shows up, and they're all like, oh, Oscar, you did it, yay. Da, da, da. But then, there's a touching moment where Lenny and his dad finally kind of come to terms with the fact that Lenny's never going to be, I guess, the same type of person as the Don, which is clearly just symbolic of like, I don't know, a mafia dad being like, oh, my son wants to go on the straight and narrow and not cement people's feet and then throw them in the ocean or whatever. Or whatever
Yeah,
the
sleeping
mafia
with the
does.
fishes.
Yeah. So yeah, the crowd cheers for him. He comes clean and admits the anchor killed him, killed Frankie. And so then, they make up. The Don, for some weird reason, no longer cares about holding dominion over the city anymore. He's just like,
Yeah,
y'all are all right. I guess I'm
like
just gonna not have any issue with y'all now.
it's the base of all their power, and he does have to eat other fish to survive. And he's like,
Yeah.
well, nah, we had this moment, so
Yeah, it's
it's
it's a
over.
it's a kids movie. We have to wrap this up. So Oscar gives up his wealth, becomes co-manager of the whale wash, which now serves sharks as well, and makes up with Angie, and they live happily ever after. So yeah, that's the very basic,
Yeah,
I guess, gist of it.
yeah. I think I liked the middle mostly for the most part, and the beginning, the premise of Oscar just being like, but I want to be somebody, but you clearly are a fish person, and you have a personality like
Yeah.
that's
One like
and he
I
just kept saying the same thing. It's not a very good basis
A
for
lot of the
his
characters are just
starting
kind of
point.
one note.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just it's a kids movie, so you can't really expect too much. But what I there's all kinds of videos online talking about should this movie have even been fish at all? Like they
I
make a
mean,
few fish puns here and there, but for the most part,
well, they made
them.
a lot of pretty decent fish puns actually. I think that's one of the best
But
parts.
it's like it's not integral to like the movie, I guess.
Oh
Like
no,
you
it's
could have
not
had it be
necessary.
humans and it
Mm-hmm.
would have probably worked just the same. But other people have done like all kinds of analysis online and stuff about like, well, were they just trying to cash in on yeah, I don't know if this came out the same year as Finding Nemo or around the same time, but were they trying to capitalize on that? And I would almost say if that is the case, that was to this movie's detriment, because I
Oh
just think
yeah,
that
it
like
was after Finding Nemo.
yeah,
Nemo
so
was '03.
I think that probably was a factor in this, and that they were like, oh, we can
Mm-hmm.
just when most of the backgrounds just gotta be blue, because it's
Yeah,
underwater.
true,
It's like
true.
I don't know. It just
I no, you're totally right that it didn't need to be fish, and them being fish and under the sea didn't add anything really, other than the fact that they could do all these fish puns and whatnot, and have
yeah.
like Katie Current and crap like that.
Mm,
And I like that's kind of it is a big negative on them. But the one good thing about that is they actually did. I think they did do a good job with the fish puns and whatnot. It's just like it was entirely unnecessary. The plot of this movie is very weak. It's very weak, but it wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. So let's go to like memories of it. So I watched this a ton. I still have the DVD that I watched with my brother and sister when I was a kid, and we would watch it all the time because we thought the jellyfish and whatnot were funny, and it was funny back then. And for kids, it's pretty good. It's just it ain't no Shrek. It doesn't last. The plot is there's just not much to it. So now, an adult person watching it, or maybe even a kid watching it for the first time, if you're not too young or something, it doesn't land.
yeah, that's kind of my take as well. I saw this movie in theaters, and like I remember the trailers like pretty vividly, because like I had mentioned that line earlier, but then also there's a part where I don't even remember which scene, but there's a part when Oscar's like, "Let's get this party started." Like they played that.
Yeah.
You kind of like it's always a bad sign when you get everything out of the movie in the trailer, as far as like the vibe and like the I guess the whole point,
Yeah.
they like even
It,
in the trailer they're like, oh, he's pretending to be the shark slayer, da da da, and it's like obvious what's gonna happen just based on the fact that it's a kids movie, um, and there's just that kind of ties into this just being a really thin story, and there's not really much growth or like, I don't know. I've never really given a reason to care about Oscar or
Yeah, no,
Angie, whereas
definitely
like in
not. Other than
Shrek,
that, he's voiced by Will Smith.
yeah, but in like Shrek, you have those moments with with Donkey where they're looking at the moon and they grow together over the course of the movie to the point where you're like, okay, they've been on this adventure that spans, a fire castle and the
Uh-huh.
swamp and like, it feels like
And
it
they
was an
pack so much
adventure.
in to
Yeah,
Shrek
yeah.
too. Like there's so much growth and different experiences for them. And then the minor scenes in this movie are like, I don't know, them just making fish jokes, which again is part of the best part, probably because all their money went to the fish jokes and not to like actually fleshing out a story. But I don't know. It is what it is. So we're kind of talking about seeing it now. Is it actually good, or is it just so bad that it's good? I don't think it's either of those, to be honest.
Yeah.
In my memory, for the nostalgia, it was so bad that it was good. But yeah, watching it now, it was like I didn't hate watching it. It wasn't at all like watching Shrek 3. It I wasn't checking for it to end. It was all right. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't watch it again anytime soon.
So for me, it's weird because I when I watched it recently, I was like really, really I had drank a lot, so I don't like. I had to do the synopsis again afterwards just for context because the one I did while I was watching it was just like completely like you wouldn't have even been able to tell what movie it was just based on the notes I'd
So
taken.
did you not watch
But
it again?
I had it on in the background.
Okay, I
Type
was
of
gonna
deal.
say, I thought you had watched it twice in like
No,
two
yeah,
days,
it
and I was
was
like, wow,
with it
that's
on in the background. It's
a
like
brave
more
boy.
like 1.5, but
Mm-hmm.
like the first time I watched it since I'd been drinking, I was like, oh, this is like really funny, and like I was laughing at all the jokes and stuff. So, but then the next day I couldn't even remember like anything about the movie, so that's why I was like, okay, I need to have it on in the background and kind of fill in the gaps, I guess. But as to whether or not it's so bad that it's good or is it actually good, I would say from like a movie as a meme perspective. Like this is kind of similar
Yeah.
to like B movie where it's like B movie is not good,
Ooh. Uh huh.
but there's enough meme value that you're like, okay, I'll sit and watch it with some drinks and have
It
a decently fun time. But
Well, this one wasn't even that big, right? Like, I mean, so the budget was 75 million, and the box office was 367 million. So it had roughly the numbers that Shrek One had. I mean, a little worse on both ends, higher budget, lower box office. But I don't think a whole lot of people saw this movie. Like, I know I watched it a bunch because my family had the DVD,
yeah.
but. And you watched it, but I don't think anyone else really watched it that we know.
Yeah, one, it's like, I just feel like DreamWorks as a whole, kind of, their, maybe not strategy, is like kind of throwing stuff at the wall, and whenever something sticks, they milk it after that.
Yeah.
And so if this had done well, or like by their metrics had done well, we
Oh
probably would have
gosh.
seen a sequel,
Can
but
you imagine?
no. Imagine if there were four
Like, what would
Shark
they
Tales,
do
like,
after
geez.
this?
And that's the thing is like with Finding Nemo, there was a very clear, I guess, thing you could do after the first one, and that's why
Yeah.
Finding Dory is such a good sequel in that
Mm.
regard. I don't see any, like, unless there's like a gang from out of town of like, I don't even know what, like what other, I'm not sure what other
I
fish you could
don't know.
do, but some other fish, gang from out of town, you could do like I don't know. But the point is, like, whenever they do stuff like this and it doesn't pan out, they just drop it like, like they just don't care at all. They're like, fuck it, we don't
Yeah,
want to do this.
because it was garbage.
Yeah, well, and it's like
I mean, it wasn't that bad, but like,
they did the same thing with like their 2D animated movies as well. Like after Spirit bombed and Sinbad bombed, they were just like, no, we're done with traditional 2D animation. So
That's
that's
probably
why we
why I
haven't.
never saw those, because they drop them so fast if it didn't
Yeah,
go so well.
yeah.
Did you know that the original title for the movie was Shark Slayer?
I did not, but it
Yeah,
makes sense.
they
Yeah,
changed it because they thought it would scare kids.
that
Which,
really
I mean,
kind of.
maybe.
Yeah, that doesn't
Maybe.
really surprise me.
Yeah,
Like,
and Shark Tale definitely fits better for
one,
kiddos.
I'm reading in the trivia, it was Jeffrey Katzenberg who thought that they should change that. That's like
Uh,
such a Katzenberg thing to do, because I just remember because he had worked at Disney prior to either
yeah.
founding or being involved in the founding of DreamWorks, but
Uh-huh.
I think maybe he headed up the animation division at Disney for a while, and the first movie that he had been, I guess, in charge of was The Black Cauldron there, which that's a movie I'd like
Oh.
to get to at some point just because I really like that movie a lot. But
Oh, I should
it
watch that
originally
one.
was going to be like way darker, and they did test screenings for it with the idea that it was going to be a kids movie. So they got the completely wrong audience to watch the movie, and
Oh
so
gosh.
there's
And changed it off that.
yeah, well, and you can find things online like from deleted scenes where like people's skin is getting like melted off
Oh
to get
yikes.
turned into like a skeleton horde. It's like it's fucking nuts. And it would have been like I think they said had the Motion Picture Association of America been around at that time, that version would have been rated R.
Oh my gosh,
Which
wow.
for an animated Disney movie,
That's pretty crazy, yeah.
I think that would have been cool because
That would
like
have been
that's
cool. I mean, if it wasn't marketed to children.
yeah.
Was it actually, so
The
you said
intent
they used the wrong audience.
Yeah, the intent was never to create a movie meant for kids. They wanted like a young teen to like older teen audience. You know,
All right, yeah.
they wanted something like Lord of the Rings, whereas like Jeffrey Katzenberg wanted Snow White. You know,
Oh,
something
okay,
that's like,
gotcha.
oh yeah, the whole family can watch it. So he ended up like basically forcing them to cut like at first it was 7 minutes, and then they were like, we can't cut 7 minutes, that's gonna completely mess with like the flow of the movie. And then
Yeah, that
Katzenberg
changes
was
a
so
lot.
pissed about that, he was like, well, now I want you to cut 10 minutes. And it's like, dude,
We can't do
he's
7.
such
Okay,
an
make it
asshole.
10.
And
What?
what ended up happening was like Katzenberg was so obsessed with getting them cut that he went into the editing bay and he started cutting it himself,
Oh my
which you do
god.
not do for animated movies because like Katzenberg prior to that had only worked on like live action comedies, I think, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So how you cut live action isn't the same as animation. So they were like, dude, you've literally just destroyed like hundreds of hours of work
Oh
that
my
people have
god. How
done.
did he get a job again?
I don't
That's
know. When that's like
horrific.
that's just in general, I feel like a as any industry progresses, you know, you start to get people who are like the boardroom leader who is
Yeah.
really good
Yeah.
with like talking to shareholders and stuff like that, but doesn't have, I guess, the creative integrity or I guess knowledge about that stuff. But they're like, my
Uh-huh.
God, he's gonna make us some money. So
Well, and one of the bits of trivia I saw about this guy was when he was at Disney. He had some infamous line where he said, "If you're not coming in Sunday, then don't bother," or something. And they had that in this movie somewhere. I forget where.
yeah.
But it's like that's one of the things he's famous for. I would not want to
Oh
work
yeah,
for a guy like
he's
that.
like a huge tool.
He sounds horrible.
Like, yeah, God, yeah. But then part of me is like, you know, he was influential in the creation of Prince of Egypt, so like
Okay, I mean I
he
like
kind
that
of
movie,
has
but
some, I guess, creative, like whenever it's something he cares about and it's not just like, well, this is gonna make us money.
I
I
mean,
feel like he can be a creative force for good, but I just feel like
yeah.
that hasn't been very
Yeah, and
often.
I
But
mean, people can also make good products and also be dicks, you know.
oh
That
yeah, totally.
happens. And it
That's
sounds
true.
like
Yeah.
that's mostly this guy.
Yeah.
Did you know the soundtrack is technically by Hans Zimmer?
Yeah, I saw that as well, and
it says it's by Hans Zimmer, but he only did the last song. He did the closing song,
yeah,
and it's like that's kind of cheating saying that the
yeah,
soundtrack's by Hans Zimmer
they
when
do
you
stuff
only
like
hear the
that.
song by him at the
They do
end.
stuff like that a lot with like video games as well, where they're like, oh, music by such and such, and it's like, oh, just the main theme is by that person, and the rest is just like,
Yeah,
typical kind of video game music people. But what a weird choice. Like, um, one, like, I don't remember that closing song. Is it like one with lyrics?
it's
Like, is someone
I
singing?
think so. It's called Some of My Best Friends Are Sharks. I think it's like literally at the very end, maybe even the
Uh,
credits or something.
yeah.
And Hans Zimmer told Katzenberg that he couldn't deal with any more epic movies. He wanted to do a fun animated movie
Oh God.
instead. So he did this.
This turned out
Some
so
of my
well
best
that
friends are
he
sharks.
so well that he immediately went to stuff like Man of Steel again. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. What
I
year
mean,
did
this
this
was
movie
the
come out,
ninth.
by the way?
What?
What year did this movie come out?
2004.
Oh, okay. All right,
The
yeah.
year
So,
after Nemo. It came
uh,
out October, which was just a bit after Shrek 2.
yeah. So there was quite a bit of time, I guess, between Man of Steel and this. But I don't know. Hans Zimmer is just more well known for like really like big,
Dramatic.
powerful, dramatic.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, stuff like Christopher Nolan movies. Not
Oh
not
yeah, I was
not
very
Shark
surprised to see
Tale.
his name attached to this.
Yeah, jeez.
I didn't get it. And it still doesn't make sense, but I mean, this movie somehow was the ninth highest grossing movie of 2004. I
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
Maybe
know how that
2004
happened
was
either.
just a slow year.
I guess so. I mean, it had Shrek 2. That must have.
That's
I mean,
yeah,
Shrek 2 did a lot better, of course.
yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know. Jeez, that I'd have to look at what the list is of stuff that came out in 2004. But I read in your trivia that you listed here the like reference to the movie Ali.
Oh yeah.
That's a really strange choice
It was.
for
Dude, they had a
a
bunch of
kids
stuff.
movie.
They had a
Like,
bunch of references like that.
yeah, and it's like I get part of that is like, oh, we can appeal to the adults by including references
Hmm.
to this, but like, I don't know, maybe that I don't know anything about that movie, but Ali, but I guess if it was like a big box office hit or critical hit, then maybe that makes sense. But
I mean, it was a big movie, but Muhammad Ali was before our time for sure. And
oh
oh
yeah,
01, we were also small children, and that movie was not for us.
yeah, that's
But
true. Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. They had a ton of references like that. And like there was another bit of trivia that I didn't include in here that was like Oscar saying a bunch of different things when that moment that he opens Lenny's mouth after their fake fight and Lenny accidentally eats him, and he says just a bunch of different lines from famous movies, and it's like they're like kind of oldies that
yeah.
not classics that
Well,
like you've heard of or
and
even seen.
that kind of goes back to the idea that there's different approaches to comedy, and one of them is like, okay, we're just gonna throw everything at the wall, and
Uh
eventually
huh.
a joke will land with someone. And the like, I guess the big downside with when you're just doing references is you just like you want something to connect with the audience, so you're
Yeah.
just like, I'm gonna just throw a bunch of stuff out there, and
It's like
eventually someone's gonna laugh at something.
It's like, hey, we know this thing in real life. Do y'all remember that thing? Huh? Yeah. And it's like, okay, so Shrek 2 did that quite a bit also, but I feel like those were so much more relatable.
Well, and it's
And
like they even incorporated them into like the movie for Shrek 2. Like
mm-hmm.
there's the thing with Far Far Away Bucks or the whatever
Yeah.
the Starbucks thing was where Mongo takes the giant coffee cup and the
Yeah,
people
yeah.
run out from it to
Straight to
another
the
one
other one.
across the street.
Hmm.
And so it's like it's an integral, I guess, part of that joke, and they really did a good job tying it to it.
Yeah, and
Whereas
you're saying they'd like weave it in rather than say Oscar just saying these lines. And
yeah, well, and
it's
even tying into like the because you listed some of the like fish product puns like Coral
mm-hmm.
Cola, Gulp, Gup, Fish King, Old Wavy, News Reef. It's like none of them are ever Like they're just like background.
Yeah,
Kind
they're
of
in the
dressing.
background.
They don't play any like role in it, you know. Whereas like I think to also like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, there's like the whole thing where in different realities there's like different versions of the same product, and that kind
Yeah.
of ties into the idea that like, oh shit, I'm not in the same place. So it would seem like just a background thing, but because it plays into the story, it's more meaningful, I
Yeah,
guess.
it
But
makes more sense to have it in there. Here, it's
yeah,
just like it could have been literally anything,
yeah,
any sort of fake fish drink instead of cola.
yeah.
But you know, references
Uh,
because people like those. Yeah, it does seem like they kind of. This is the much lazier version of Shrek 2. Like, Shrek 2 came out a little bit before, and I'm sure they were working on that quite a bit more, and quite a bit less effort went into this one.
yeah.
And they were like, okay, we've already got Shrek 2 going. What are we doing over there? Hey, can I copy your homework? Oh, yeah. Just make sure it looks a little different. Okay. And then it's Shark Tale.
Yeah.
I don't know.
One, it's like I feel like with Disney they have like different like animation studios across the country. So like around this time, maybe not around this time, like in 2001, you had one team in I think it was Florida or Miami. Well, Miami, Florida, working on
Yeah.
Lilo and Stitch, and then at the same time at the studio in California, they were working on Emperor's New Groove. So it's like those are two bangers. Whereas like I feel like with DreamWorks, it's more of like a very clear A and B team, where like the majority of funding and stuff was going to the Shrek team,
Yeah.
and this on the other hand, they were just kind of like, well, we'll just phone it in. You know, it's not gonna be very good.
That
But
makes sense.
but
That would make a lot
ironically,
of sense.
we'll get an insane cast for this movie.
Oh my gosh, yes.
That like probably was the majority of the budget to the downfall of the I guess animation in this, but
The animation was
it was
very lackluster,
yeah.
especially after seeing Shrek 2. Shrek 2 came out before this.
One like
Like,
with the context of like Finding Nemo, you have that which is very like vibrant, like it's and it goes into like just by nature of it being like an adventure across the ocean, you see like the dark parts of the ocean, so there's like really good contrast
yeah.
with the stuff they show you, whereas this it's just a city, that's it.
Yeah, and like
a
they
sunken
make
boat.
it colorful and whatnot, but there's not much detail to things, and things look kind of flat mostly. You're not looking at the
Yeah.
background. Your eye is mostly just drawn to the characters that are kind of on the scene.
I feel like they put a little too much into making the fish have like human looking faces.
Yeah,
So it's
dude, that
kinda
was
creepy.
weird. That was really weird that their faces kind of like stick out from the fish
Yeah,
body. I don't know
yeah.
how you would do that right, but that was not it.
I
don't
feel like
think.
Finding Nemo gets it right. You
You're
know,
right.
like
You're right. But they wanted to make the people like, or the fish more like people,
Yeah.
and stand up, like
Yeah.
look like they're standing up.
Well, that's weird too. That again
Uh-huh.
ties into like why are they fish at all if you're
Yep,
just gonna have them
uh-huh.
stand up. But we can talk a bit about the cast now if you want, because
Sure,
like
sure.
it's
So-
just fucking nuts.
So so just to start, the only the ones I wrote down, I just wrote a few. So Oscar's Will Smith, Angie, his kind of love interest, true love interest, I guess, is Renee Zellweger.
Zellweger, yeah.
Zellweger. I honestly don't know who she is, but apparently
She's in like a lot of
big.
romantic comedies and stuff like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
And then Lola, the gold digger, was Angelina Jolie.
Who was huge around that time because of
for
like
sure.
the Tomb Raider movies. Yeah.
And Sykes, the whale wash owner slash Don middleman, was Martin Scorsese, which I
Had
didn't
he
know
done any acting
I
prior
don't think
to this?
I don't know. I should have looked that up, but I was really surprised to see his name as even just a voice actor on
Yeah.
someone. It was kind of weird. I don't know. And so Lenny was Jack Black. Don Lino was Robert De Niro. And last one I wrote down was Ernie one of the jellyfish was actually played by Ziggy Marley, Bob Marley's son. And that was actually pretty cool because at one point he sings the song Three Little Birds by Bob Marley, of course, and he just changes birds to fishes. But, that was cool that they got Ziggy Marley for that, since they were like Rastafarians.
Yeah. What did you think about, I mean, this is maybe just a consequence of when the movie came out. There's like them being like Jamaicans, and then there's like the sushi joke early in the movie where there's like basically a caricature of like a Japanese person. Like, I don't know, it just to me seemed a little.
Oh, it's dated. It's dated for sure.
Yeah.
Like things wouldn't fly. I don't think this movie was too bad with stuff like that, like non-PC type stuff. And like, I mean, Ziggy Marley played the guy. I'm sure he was more than happy to do it, and like, so I don't think that was too bad. I don't know. I don't think this movie was too bad with it, but it certainly it has the taste of early 2000s.
Yeah. Well, and then to tie back into the thing with the Italian community not responding very well to this movie. Like, was there any like big backlash? Like, was there? Because I don't know, like other movies.
I mean, there were Italian anti-Italian defamation group disowned the movie. I don't know what that actually does. Probably not a whole lot.
Yeah.
So there were like some groups that spoke out against it, and they did change. Actually, there was another Don in the movie that's whose name was going to be Don Brizzy, and they got it changed to Don Feinberg, which admittedly does sound kind of strange. And I mean, it makes it clear that he's not Italian, I think.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, not necessarily, obviously, but
yeah,
it's not specifically Italian, I guess.
Yeah.
So it did change something, but not really much.
Okay, well, that's good. And, granted, I think the big comparison people would make for stuff like that would be like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, which I think they banned from India for like years. Like they didn't even let it premiere there.
Yeah, I could see that.
But like obviously these are not apples to apples comparisons, because like this is a lot more tame in comparison to that. But
yeah, fortunately this didn't have too much. Like it was like, okay, that's clearly mafia. And they have kind of Italian stereotypical accents, and most of them have like Italian-ish names, but they don't say Italian. Luckily, they made everyone fish, so you can't tell. Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I guess the only other thing that maybe wouldn't fly necessarily today would be Lola's, just as a character. Just in general, her being
in a kid's movie for sure.
Her being so one-dimensional. Although she does apologize to him at the end, or tries to, but he doesn't want to have anything to do with her.
Yeah.
That's I feel like people would be kind of up in arms about that today and be like, well, there's probably a reason why she's like that or something. I don't know.
I mean, well, it's just weird to have it. Like, kids don't really know what the concept of a gold digger is, I don't think, for the most part. And as soon as she's being introduced, they're playing this song, and it's just going, gold digger, she's a gold digger, gold digger. And it's like, what? When did this happen? When did they put that in the movie? I don't remember that at all. Why? It's a fish. It's for children. But, she's very strangely sexualized and like flowy and whatnot.
Yeah,
it's weird.
It's like uncomfortable. Like I feel like they wanted this to be for an older audience, but then they were like, well, shit, Shrek was a huge success, so let's kind of tone it down and make it more like for the family, I guess. Type of deal. But
I guess I feel like they were trying to do something along the lines that they accomplished with Shrek, like have great jokes and a relatively decent storyline for the kids that they can all get behind and understand and fall in love with, and then the parents and older people, and when people come back to it later, they can watch it and be like, haha, I get these more adult jokes in there, actually creative and witty and whatnot. But they kind of fell flat on the plot. They fell flat on most of the writing. The jokes are okay. Some of them are still funny, but mostly it's because they're stupid. That's the kind of funny
when
this
it's
is
like
now.
sometimes whenever a joke doesn't land, that almost makes it funny because you're like, man, that was such a poor attempt that like you're just like, okay, I'll laugh kind of out of pity, I guess.
Yeah, it's like the please clap.
Yeah, yeah, basically. Well, one thing because you wrote that this was only Jack Black's second animated movie.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of surprises me. Because, like, I don't know.
Doesn't he feel like the type of person to be doing those?
Yeah, and, like, I don't remember who he was, because you wrote his first one was Ice Age. I don't know who he was in that, but, I mean, it's not that big a deal, but, like, it just surprises me that, because around this time would have been when he was, like, blowing up, right?
Yeah.
Because, they did, like, School of Rock, which was, like, a huge thing for his career. Obviously other stuff as well, but like I think he had been in some maybe more adult comedies prior to that, but stuff like like I said, School of Rock was just like fucking huge.
Dude, School of Rock was so good. I love that movie.
Yeah, that's a good one as well.
But so Jack Black was Zeke the saber-toothed tiger in Ice Age.
Okay, yeah. So not the main Sabretooth, one of the...
No, different one.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that at first, and I was like, no, he wasn't that... Oh, it was the other one.
Did you...
So he didn't have a very prominent role in Ice Age.
This is a random aside, but did you see that... Because when I think Disney bought Fox, they ended up getting the studio that made Ice Age as well, and they laid all of them off recently.
Oh.
Which is like...
No, I didn't see that.
That's fucking really shitty. And that's like, there's certain things that are good about, I guess, mergers and stuff like that, but usually what ends up happening is they're just like, well, fuck it, we don't want to pay these people to, just be sitting around, because they don't have any intention to do another Ice Age, I don't think. But
well, from my perspective, the good thing about mergers like that is that some things that didn't have money can now just have like infinity money behind them, and that's cool. Like some teams can get money, but then also it's like you get these monopolies that, and I know Disney has like not had a super big hand. Like they've just added money to say the I guess Marvel franchise and whatnot, and maybe even the Star Wars. I don't know about that, but still, it's like you get this monopoly, and they'll cut whatever cost they need to cut or feel like they need to cut wherever, and you get these sad things like that, or you're missing out on things because there's not really competition anymore.
Yeah, when it's like when you have the people who are in like the leadership positions, they're all going to be making the same kind of decisions across the board because it's all at the same company, whereas like, back to what you said, it's like you need different types of creativity across an industry as far as different companies go and people in various leadership positions to make movies as, I guess, diverse and different as they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that was just more of an aside based on, Ice Age, but...
And so we didn't actually talk about Shark Tale too terribly much. I mean, we hit it
not much
for sure.
To say,
but yeah, there wasn't much to say.
Yeah, it just I don't know.
It's all right.
Yeah,
if they're kids, show it to them. If you're drinking, apparently show it to yourself.
So we're doing final thoughts then. I take.
Sure. I don't have much more on this.
Yeah, that all ties into the idea that like. Even drunk me having fun watching this didn't remember much the next day.
Yeah.
And even when I had it on in the background, like none of the jokes like stood out. Whereas like with Shrek, all of them, even the third one, there's at least one joke that I'm like, in Shrek 3, it's like there's where's the baby? Like that to me is like the thing that stood out is like, okay, that's a joke I'll remember just because it's so out of left field. But like this movie doesn't have that, and the plot just in general is kind of really cookie cutter, like, oh, the dad and the son don't get along because they are too different,
And the main character wants to be a somebody, but he doesn't
yeah,
notice what he's already got right next to
yeah,
him
yeah,
and type of stuff. And it's
exactly,
very
yeah.
basic surface level type stuff. And again, it's like, if you want to show it to a kid, go for it. But
Yeah,
if there are adults listening to this, I wouldn't recommend watching it for your
yeah,
first
I
time.
do feel like it would be stimulating enough for a small child,
Oh
just
yeah.
because it's like, oh, bright colors for the fish, they're
And again, like, I loved it when I was a kid. The jokes were good enough,
yeah,
and the plot was like, I didn't need to think that deep. I
yeah.
was small, but
I guess
it's different.
the only other thing I will say, is as a meme, I don't remember when, but one of y'all bought me the Shark Tale game for GameCube, I think. That
Oh my
game is
gosh,
fucking
yes, I remember
horrible.
that.
That game
Was
is
it?
terrible. It's just like a
Good.
collection of mini games, and like, I don't know, it's hard to nail like three-dimensional travel through water. So
Mm-hmm.
what they do is they just have it be 2D. On like the
Oh
GameCube, it's like,
gosh.
and it's not like sprites, like they're 3D models, but they're just on like a 2D
What?
plane.
Oh, that sounds hideous.
It's really bad.
At some point, I'm gonna have to come over and see that
Oh
because
yeah,
I forgot that we got you
yeah,
that. That was
yeah,
hilarious.
yeah, yeah. So
All
that's
right. Well,
uh,
I don't have anything. I mean,
yeah.
my final thought
I've
is like,
yeah,
yeah, kind of knockoff version of Shrek with a little, I mean, different-ish story, but
yeah.
surface level in most ways. You got anything to plug, Matthew?
Well, I have been doing more and more on my YouTube channel lately. Hey Ocarina, that's with 5 E's in the Hey. I did a Let's Play playthrough thing of a Zelda fan game recently, so
Oh,
check that out if you're interested in that. We also have a Boyos Discuss Twitter now.
oh hell yeah,
Let me get what the exact handle is. It
yeah. Now that I
is
have internet again, I'll have to watch your stuff.
yeah. Well, and I was glad because Ben Stevenson was like, dude, that was like really good, and I was like, oh. I feel good now. But yeah, our Twitter is at Boyos Discuss. So follow us on Twitter, I guess.
Dude, I can't believe no one took it.
Well, that's what I was surprised. Even just to circle around, I was surprised no one had done on any podcasting service anything like too similar. So we lucked out
Yeah.
with that
I
being
don't
like
think
a
many people
meme.
use the Boyo thing
Yeah.
that we do. Yeah.
Whether they need to get on that then.
No, they need to stay off it so we can take all the domain names.
How about you? You got anything you want to plug?
Not really. I've gotten busy with school, so podcast is like a little behind schedule. Well, even more so. But I mean, I have most of the stuff I want to like get it started. I just need to practice with the software a little bit, which I may ask you about eventually. But
Yeah.
then, yeah, I need to get I need to get an image for the podcast, like how albums have album covers and podcasts have their things.
Yeah.
I need to get that going before I do it. So, yeah, that's all. That's all we got, folks.
I mean, well, we do have coming up next week, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man review series that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
that's,
So, next week or this Sunday? I don't know. We'll
it's
figure
this
that
Sunday,
out.
I think. Yeah, that we're gonna do
We'll figure out when
yeah.
we're doing it.
And hopefully we'll
Um,
have more Boyos for that
yeah,
because
yeah.
we could not convince
No one was interested
Ben.
in Shark Tale.
We couldn't convince Ben to do it, and
No.
Harlan.
Harlan didn't want to pay the $4.
Yeah, he didn't want to pay.
It's
$4.
fine. It's fine. I mean, it probably isn't worth it. So respect. Okay. Well, thanks for watching or listening. May all of your endings be happy.